Welcome to the Windrush section. Today we've got our beautiful sister Dionne, who has a story to tell in terms of her grandfather. And I'd like to say, hi Dionne, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, it's really nice to have you here today. And I know that we're going to talk about your grandfather, Sam King, a man who has played very much an instrumental role in even shaping many things in this country. And so, Dionne, I want to ask you about your grandfather. What was he like, Sam King? You being his granddaughter growing up and seeing this man that now people talk all about him. What was it like for you growing up with your granddad?
Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. I suppose I'm going to start with like keywords that come to my mind when you say that. So for me, keywords are like strong, secure, and solid. Like that was my granddad.
Yes.
And he was like 6 foot plus. So that's why when you're a child, you see him and you perceive him as someone strong. And solid and secure because my granddad just had this presence about him that was very sure about what he was about. He never was one to mince his words. He just said things straight. Clear, and concise, like wherever we were, whether it's family, whether it's gardening, whether we should get pineapple juice or orange juice in the supermarket. Like it was always just like, ... that's it.
Yes.
You know, he wasn't about like, you know, faffing around at all.
Straight to the point.
Yeah, straight to the point. And how I always felt in his presence was that I always felt secure and safe, and that he was somebody who I wanted to poke and get things out of, or I wanted to follow around and just learn things about. And yeah, and naturally, because I was a small child when he became the first black male Southwark.
Okay.
At that time, I was very little, but I just remember that he always tried to find a way that whenever things were going on, to make it accessible for me to understand. Okay. So I love the fact that education, not just in the superficial way, an institutional way, but just life and manner as well, was always very integral. And I understood that from a really young age, that for my grandfather, education was key, even down to this moment in his life. Even though I was very young, he was like always trying to make me understand a change had happened, and an important change. So I remember he was like, look, Granddad is now wearing big gold chain, and I was like, you can touch it, because he was like, he didn't want it to be this thing like, what on earth is going on? My granddad is, always dressed in quite a reserved manner. No bling. He was, that just wasn't going to be there because, and I think it has to do with his armed forces background as well, that it's about minimal and it's about minimal but formal and regal in a sense. Because of that. But then all of a sudden, the man who I was so used to just being, sitting upright all the time, looking smart but in a way that was unassuming, turns up with this like big red robe and a whole heap of gold on his neck, and I'm like, not right here, or you're just like, where's my granddad? Like, and I think he could see that and was just like, yes, it's granddad. Gold chain, you can touch it. Yes, I'm. This is the mayoral chain, and I just always remember that transition. But him straight away, understanding the need to kind of contextualize it for me at a very young age, so we could continue moving on, being granddad and granddaughter, doing life. So that was him. He was like that for me. That kind of stature kind of fella that you just looked up to when you saw him. Yeah, blatantly always looked up to my grandfather. I always saw him as somebody who was important in my life, and somebody I knew had expectations of me, but not in the sense of I should do,
Okay.
but as in he believed I could do.
Wow.
And that's where the sense of safety always came to me. For me anyway, is that with him, he'd always say, like, you know, all I ask is that you do your best.
Yes.
So when I'd hear my friends like saying, oh, Mama said I've got to get this, I've got to get that grade, or I've got to pass my TAP, or, you know, it would always be, I have no qualms as long as you can stand here and honestly tell me you did your best.
Brilliant.
And everybody's best is different. And
Wow.
so he was always like, you have to live with that, whether you did your best or not.
Doing your best.
And it's you yourself you have to be accountable to if you didn't. And so there was always this sense of, okay, that for me made it safe and made it like, you know, I can be me.
Be me.
But there was still, I understood there needed to be a serious level of respect still. You know what I mean?
The boundary.
Yeah. That is still my granddad kind
Yes.
of thing. So, yeah, you know, that was another element, the education, the sense of expectation, but in a way that was led by who I was and not defined by what society should say I should be. And just a sense of belonging as well comes with my grandfather. So he was always very much about, you know, you have king blood. And because now obviously we all have blood of whatever our heritage is, you know, whether it's like McDonald or Brown or whatever, but it, you know, I don't think it was more about like, oh, because you're a king. I think it was because you belong, and that's what I think it was about, and that's how I understood it, that I belonged somewhere and I came from somewhere, and that lineage I came from meant there were things that I could do, even if other people said I couldn't. So it wasn't necessarily about, oh, you have to act a certain way in public and do that. It was just, he always presented it in a way that understands that you're strong, understands that you're rooted in something that has no death but has longevity.
I like that.
So I always kind of felt a sense of, you know, because believe me, life is difficult, and I'm from the generation where I know what it's like to be overtly discriminated against within an educational setting or within an occupational setting as well.
Wow.
So, you know, there are things that you kind of don't fully understand as a kid, like comments that are made that staff don't even maybe realise weren't that appropriate. But you know it made you feel funny.
100%.
And you know it made you feel like uncomfortable about being there all of a sudden. And I think because I kind of had that sense of rootedness in my family, that even when those things would knock you, and they do, and you then spend time in your life not realising the impact that they had, but I feel like later on it made it easier for me to find a way out. Okay. Because I had an alternative place of rooting.
I kind of like that you talk about being rooted. And I think that really says something about what you've shared and feeling secure. So tell me, what was it like growing up with you and your siblings and the community around you?
Gosh, do you know what? I loved it. I absolutely loved it because the community and family was like my safe haven. You know, and the good thing is that when you know that you have the option of a family environment where yes, there's fights, yes, there's conflicts.
True.
Yes, you get vexed with your cousins or whatever. But it's like you all understood that at the root of it, we all love each other and we're all committed. And there was this real sense of, I don't care if you fight or so-and-so broke your bike. That's your family.
Yes.
And you have a duty of care and commitment to each other. And growing up in that, I think now, like my friends always say to me, oh, Dionne, you're always quite happy to be the Lone Ranger. Because if I want to do something, I'm not waiting for anybody.
Yes.
And I'm always quite happy to be the only one there. And I don't mind if there's no one who looks like me or is familiar, because I've already got like a little place where I can go that's guaranteed, it is always there, where I always feel secure and I belong, where I have people who look like me, but you know, that's just not enough, but also people who look out for me.
Wow.
So I'm just like, that, like my family, number one. As a teenager, party, going to fun fair with my cousins, it's funfair with my cousins.
That was where it was at.
Yeah, that's where the jokes were.
Okay.
That's where I
not going out to the rave in the
No, the thing is, once you chat enough with, like, in the playground, you soon learn as you get older. Oh, my friend went out with so and so, and then they left her, or they went out with so and so, and then, you know, she got stranded, or they had a fight and she got left with this. I was like, I don't have that drama with family.
Wow.
So yeah, I just feel, for me, it was very much about family growing up. I personally, because of how I enjoyed it, I felt rooted in my family. They would be my first choice.
Yes.
And obviously, I think your grandparents kind of have a big role in telling you your family come first. So then you eventually start having that, like, subconscious mantra in your head that even if you try to toy with other ideas, you're gonna choose. You're gonna choose family, because you know what you get at the end, and you know that you're safe, and you know if you're not, there's a whole leap of generation that's coming after the cusp.
Yes, yes.
But yeah, I had definitely, through my granddad, even like through all of my extended family, on my mum and my dad's side, I just feel that because we were so rooted in community, because they also had businesses. Because of my granddad's activism, my mum was very much a part of his campaign.
Wow.
So as a kid, I remember being little, holding her hand, putting in leaflets, going to, like, Socialist Party activism events, Labour events with my grandfather. So community also meant action for me as well.
Yes.
Because as young as I can remember going with my mum and my grandfather to political related events. Now, you know, there were some things that I could see that, okay, that was more ego that was happening in those political arenas, and now my mum and my grandfather would just be going to the people where the needs were. So then I understood the difference, what really being a community activist was from their perspective. Obviously, everyone's got it, and it was about action. It was about the voices of the people being the main voice. And I saw that in how they both lived and moved in those arenas.
And that's influenced your life.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I just think, just listening to what you've been sharing about your grandfather, I think that, you know, it's a blessed thing. And I'd like to say, you know, thank you for coming and sharing, Dionne. And we are now coming to the end of our Windrush segment, and I hope that you enjoyed it, and I will be handing you over to Lavina. Thank you.